Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, dated 11th of July, 2024. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So it seems like the main narrative that people are going to be, exposed to when it comes to Ethereum is this tokenization narrative. Now, of course, I've spoken about this in the past. Obviously, we know that the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, has spoken a lot about tokenization in the past, and especially about how he's excited about it. And it seems like something he really wants to push, as a complement, or even maybe like as the main thing in relation to kind of the ETFs. Obviously, they have their BTC ETF with their ETF going live soon. But in terms of actually using this technology, it seems like they want to do it via tokenization. Now, the reason I'm bringing it up again today is because Goldman Sachs actually announced they're going to be launching 3 tokenization projects by the end of this year. Now, I dug a little bit deeper into this because I was curious to see what technology they would be using. Apparently, it's going to be on a private blockchain, which I think completely defeats the purpose of what they're trying to do here. But hey, they've got to go into the private realm before they go into the public realm. I do think eventually they'll end up on public Ethereum specifically. But I think the broader trend here and the broader thing of note here is that this tokenization thing seems to really be resonating with the traditional finance system. And I'm sure they're going to be able to package it up in such a way that it resonates with everyday people. And then, of course, if you want to get exposure to this tokenization thing, which hasn't happened before, for us, obviously in crypto, tokenization is nothing new. We've known about tokens for a very long time now. It's literally been around in Ethereum since almost day one, the ERC20 token standard and other token standards as well. But for the everyday person, they're hearing this new word, tokenization, right? And they're wondering, how do I get access to this? What does this all mean? Like, how do I invest in this? And well, these TradFi institutions are now going to have a product to sell because they can basically say, well, tokenization happens on Ethereum and you can buy ETH to get exposure to that, essentially. And hey, look, we have this nice little ETF product that you can buy and then you can have exposure to ETH. And then eventually when they have staking ETFs, they can go and sell that product as well. So this is super bullish, I think. It's not going to happen overnight, of course. This is going to be more of a long-term play here. But I know that's been a debate within the Ethereum community for quite a while now about what the narrative should be for Ethereum. Like, what's Ethereum's main narrative? And as I've discussed before, I don't think Ethereum is ever going to have like a single narrative. It's not going to have something like a digital gold that Bitcoin has, because Ethereum is just so much more than a single kind of monolithic thing that you can kind of wrap into a neat package and essentially water it down to like a one-liner. I don't think you can do that. I think that there are different one-liners you can use for Ethereum, such as saying, Ethereum is a platform for tokenization, or Ethereum is an open source app store, or Ethereum is a store of value platform, or ETH is as an asset is a store of value. Or Ethereum is the new internet. Ethereum is the new financial system. There are many, many different ways you can describe Ethereum through one-liners. But I do think that this Ethereum is a tokenization platform one-liner is probably going to be the one that you see the most in the TradFi world, just because of the fact that the big players in that world are very big on tokenization now. They seem to see a future here, which, I mean, is pretty obvious to us, but it's good that they see this future. And obviously, people are going to want exposure to this just like they want exposure to anything. If you want exposure to AI, people are like, oh, how do I invest in AI? It's like, well, not a traditional, I guess like the popular way of doing that over the last couple of years has been to invest in NVIDIA, right? Invest in NVIDIA, the company, buy NVIDIA stock because they're creating the hardware that enables this. And then there are other things as well, obviously, in other sectors around the world as well, people like to invest in. Doesn't mean that the investment is going to pay off, but really you always want there to be some kind of, asset for people to invest in before you start building these things, because it just brings more money into the ecosystem. And I think that's exactly what's happening with the ETH ETFs being, a week away from trading now, hopefully less. Hopefully they start trading next week. It seems like next week is going to be the week here. And then obviously the tokenization narrative will keep picking up steam. And it's not just a narrative, I think it's also reality. Because when you think about it, Ethereum already has all of the scaffolding in place to do this. Like we've been doing, as I said, we've been doing tokens for so long now. And it's not just the tokens that we've been doing. We've got all of the, as I said, scaffolding and infrastructure around tokens in place, where essentially wallets obviously support tokens and they can import tokens for you and they can display tokens in any which way that you want. There are different service providers out there that will essentially allow you to make a token instantly. Essentially, it's like the cookie cutter smart contract, ERC20 template, but then also add your own features to it if you want. Add things like blacklist to it if you want, like with USDC and USDT, for example, right? So there are various different kind of things in place already, and there's lots of different infrastructure in place, and there's a huge network effect around the ERC20 standard on Ethereum. It already has all of the centralized exchanges integrated with it, right? It already has integrations within DeFi. It's a well understood standard that the traditional finance system can just plug in now, and they can bring their assets on chain. Obviously, when it comes to real world assets such as a house, like tokenizing a deed to a house, if you want to do something like that, sure, you can do it, but the ultimate, I guess, settlement is not going to be on Ethereum. The ultimate settlement is still going to be in the legal system as that kind of physical paper, or essentially the house exists in the real world. It's not secured by Ethereum, right? But it's an IOU that you can trade, just like you can trade gold IOUs on the stock market. You're not actually trading gold physically with each other, just like we have with cash today, right? Like where essentially, if you're moving money around within bank accounts, it's essentially just digital, not real digital money, but like digital representations of cash somewhere in a vault, right? You're not trading that vault. I mean, a bank is not sending. If you send $1,000 to someone to pay for something, the bank is not physically going into its vault, taking $1,000 cash out, and then sending it via, I don't know, some snail mail to the other person. No, they're just changing numbers on a database, essentially. That's essentially what Ethereum does, right? And Bitcoin to an extent, and really any public open blockchain is essentially it's a database, and it just changes the ledger when things happen on the ledger. It changes who owns what, and that's really it. But because assets like ETH natively live on Ethereum, the ultimate source of settlement for ETH is the Ethereum chain. Whereas for real world assets, for example, the ultimate source of settlement is that asset itself. So essentially, like, yeah, someone could steal the house deed on chain, or can hack your wallet and take your house deed from you, but they don't own the house. The house deed exists within the normal kind of meat space, where essentially the house still belongs to you. This deed is now null and void because it's gotten hacked, and it was just a paper IOU to begin with, and now you can essentially reissue that and then just void the other one. So there are kind of layers here to tokenization, but it's definitely going to be the big thing going forward for Ethereum, and I definitely think it's going to be a way that these TradFi institutions market Ethereum to clients, especially when they're trying to get AUM into the various different ETFs out there. So super exciting stuff, in my opinion. I know that obviously for us it is old news, but this is all new to this world here. Really, if you think about it, most of what the, I guess, like regular world or world outside of crypto knows about crypto is really just Bitcoin. They know that Bitcoin is some kind of thing that you can invest in. It goes up and down. It's very volatile. They know they've probably heard of Bitcoin being described as digital gold. They may have heard of Ethereum, may not have heard of Ethereum, probably not heard of Ethereum. I'm talking about the people that are just very like casual, maybe thrown some money at crypto and probably forgotten about Ethereum altogether if they did hear about it once upon a time, because obviously Bitcoin dominates the headlines. It is the thing that media reports on a lot. But essentially, for the vast majority of the investable money out there and who that money belongs to, they've got no idea what Ethereum is, what it can do. They're just hearing about this tokenization thing, and they're going to log on one day. They're going to, they're going to check their email. They're going to get a report from BlackRock, from Goldman Sachs, from Bitwise, from VanEck, whoever it is, that says, hey, this Ethereum thing, this is where the tokenization stuff's going to happen, and Ethereum can do all this other stuff, and hey, ETH is an asset. It's a really cool asset for such and such reason. You can buy it right now through this ETF, and we'll manage it all for you, and you don't have to worry about custody or anything like that. It's such an easy sell at that point. That's why ETFs are so popular, because they wrap everything up into a nice little product, and really all of these issuers have to do is come up with marketing to get people in, and it's not hard to do that, guys. Like, I think that people overcomplicate these things and think, oh, it's so hard to come up with narratives and marketing for Ethereum. It's like, it's not. You just need to know your target market and then craft the narratives and craft the marketing towards that. And you need to realize that the vast majority of the investable money out there is not degen gambler money. It's conservative money, right? It's money that people have in their retirement accounts. It's money that they don't want to lose. They don't want to gamble away. It's really conservative stuff here. And yeah, they may only allocate a couple of percentage of their entire portfolio to crypto, but that's enough, guys. Like, that's heaps. That's so much money. That's trillions of dollars coming into crypto over the next 5-10 years or something like that. But yeah, it's definitely not crypto native money where it's just max degen gambler. Like, I would actually say that most of the money in crypto today outside of BTC and ETH is really dumb money, like really, really dumb money, because it's just gambler money, right? Like, and when you have gambler money, it can't possibly be smart money because they're gambling based on random narratives that are shilled to them on crypto Twitter, or they're basically trading these things based on ridiculous meme lines or technical analysis that they're doing day to day on charts. I'm not talking about the longer term stuff, just the short term stuff. So really, when it comes to the ETFs and the money that they're going after, it really is that conservative, long-term oriented, long-term minded money. And I couldn't think of a better investment to make than ETH in that if you want to get exposure to crypto as a whole, because buying BTC does not give you exposure to tokenization. It doesn't give you exposure to an on-chain, DeFi, on-chain finance economy. It doesn't give you exposure to NFTs. It doesn't give you any of that. It really just gives you that digital gold store of value, which is fine. I mean, it's been good. Like, obviously BTC is super valuable and will probably still go up over time. But if you want the, store of value money, you've got that with ETH as well. So I don't see a reason to buy BTC over ETH, but it is on these issuers to basically convince their customers of this. But at the same time, because this is conservative money, I do suspect that, as I mentioned before, it'll be a market cap weighted thing where it'll be like at the start, 30-70, 70% BTC, 30% ETH. That may change over time in either direction, but I feel like that's the way it's going to be there. But anyway, enough talk about all of that stuff, but seriously exciting times for the Ethereum ecosystem there. All right, speaking of exciting times in the Ethereum ecosystem, Devcon tickets are now on sale. So as you guys probably know, the next Devcon 7, is being held in Bangkok, Thailand from November 12th to November 15th. This will be the only Ethereum conference that I will attend all year. I definitely am going to be attending this one. I've pretty much missed all of the other ones during this year. I've only gone to small events here and there. I haven't gone to any Ethereum conferences. Obviously, I'm not at ETHCC right now. I didn't go to ETH Denver. I'm not going to be at any of the others. I didn't go to Dev Connect or anything like that, but I'm definitely going to be at Devcon. It does help that it is relatively closer to me than somewhere like Europe. Obviously, Bangkok in Thailand being in Asia is much closer to Australia than Europe or even the US. So that's nice, and the time zone difference isn't too bad. So hopefully my jet lag will be okay. But I'm definitely hoping to be there. Hopefully, if I can get tickets, right? But you can go and check out how to get tickets in the blog post that the Ethereum Foundation has published here. There are various different ways to get tickets, and depending on who you are in the ecosystem or what you've done in the ecosystem, you can potentially get tickets for a very steep discount or completely free. I think core devs are getting tickets for free, or at least core devs that were part of the merge. I think they have like a pop-up that they have. They'll be able to get tickets for free, which is really, really cool, as they should honestly get tickets for free. But it's really cool. They're using like an on-chain way to verify this, these pop-ups that the core devs got for making the merge happen essentially, which is great to see there. But yeah, there are discounts for other people out there. You can also attend as a founder, as a builder, as a dev, anything. I mean, I think DevCon will probably be the biggest conference of the year, to be honest. It usually is the biggest conference of the year. Obviously, not just Ethereum people are going to be there. It's going to be like everyone from every ecosystem. I'm sure you've seen a lot of the ETHCC tweets about how there are a lot of other ecosystems there. I think that Gavin Wood from Polkadot did like a keynote speech. Their Aptos founders did a speech, which, funny enough, if you saw the meme or saw the picture on Twitter, there was like 3 people in the audience. So it's nothing new for like these other L1s to have their, their presence. That's what the word I was looking for. Their presence at these events. But hopefully they're not given the main stage at DevCon, because DevCon belongs to Ethereum. It is an Ethereum conference. But yeah, I'm super excited for this. But you can go check out all of the details for yourself. I'll link the blog post in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, Tony is out with some fresh research today. This one is titled Deep Diving Attestations, a Quantitative Analysis. And he basically has delved into the performance of different node operators, the impact of big blocks, best and worst validators, and attester/proposer timing strategies. Now, of course, this is very detailed as usual from Tony, and I highly recommend going and reading this post for yourself. But I wanted to make a few comments after reading through this. So my number one comment is like, why why would you do an analysis like this? And I wanted to comment on this in particular. There's, I think, two main reasons here. The first one is that obviously we want to know what the Ethereum network looks like at any given time from the node operator level for various different reasons. But we want to have a kind of good analysis of this, a deep dive analysis on this in order to see how healthy the network is, because that will inform future upgrades to the network, such as max EB, right? Obviously, that is already slated for inclusion in Pectra, but this data gives us more insight into what else could we be doing here to make sure that node operators are performing their duties as efficiently as possible. We make sure the network is healthy overall, so on and so forth. And also, this is something that could inform the discussions around shortening the block times on Ethereum, or the slot times. I did discuss this the other day, where I said that there is a lot of discussion right now about essentially reducing Ethereum slot time from 12 seconds to 2 seconds, but also there are certain trade-offs that we need to consider here, and the only way to consider those is with hard data, and that's exactly what Tony is giving us here in this post, is basically hard data on how the performance of different validators are on the network and on the different node operators are on the network. And as I said, it is very, very detailed. Like, look at this. I'm scrolling down and there's just so much here. So I definitely highly recommend giving it a read here, because and I guess like maybe a third thing here as well that I didn't mention earlier is that it also informs things around MEV and the impact of MEV on the network, in particular the impact of MEV boost and things like timing games and so on, and blobs, of course, and so on and so forth there. So yeah, definitely go give this a read if you haven't yet. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. But this is the kind of stuff we need more of, because yeah, the Ethereum network is definitely going to be changing a lot over the next few years, specifically around, I think, proof of stake generally there's going to be some major changes there, but also with regards to the blocks. Like, I feel like there has been a real push to shorten the block times lately from people that I consider to be honest actors and smart people. But I would like to see more data, more analysis, and I would like to see more discussions around the trade-offs. As I mentioned the other day, one of the major trade-offs is the fact that if we make block times or slot times 2 seconds, that would probably kick off a lot of the lower powered devices on the network today. I struggle to imagine that my Rock 5B that's currently solo staking would be able to keep up with the chain in that environment, because it's just not powerful enough. And also, it's not just me that runs these things, there's also other devices out there as well, but we need to do an analysis on this, especially when it comes to bandwidth requirements too. That's another big thing here. But I don't think any of these changes are going to be made definitely not until after max EB is in place and we see load come off the network via that. But also, there's a lot more work around blobs happening too, and proto dank sharding and dank sharding generally. We just need to see how all that plays out. So I would say that even though there's a lot of conversations happening around this right now, I wouldn't expect slot times to be lowered for a couple of years at least. And maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe it happens faster than that, but I don't see it. Not given what I currently know and my current view of the Ethereum core protocol development, the ongoing research within it, and also the data itself and what it's showing us. What it's showing us right now is that, like, in the current state, we should not be adding too much more load to the network, because we risk essentially kicking off node providers, and then what that leads to is a degraded network performance, where essentially attestations get missed, block proposals get missed, and everyone suffers from that. So there's a delicate balance here, but we can only have that balance, I think, and we can only look at how that balance is going with hard data, which is exactly what Tony put together. So you can go check this out for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, so Base has gotten a major upgrade today. So Jesse tweeted out saying that they shipped their Fjord hard fork, which improved transaction compression by 20 to 30%. This means that we use 20 to 30% less blob space, and every transaction is cheaper, a big win for scalability. And then, of course, Jesse has a nice little chart here that he tweeted out. Now, I remember I mentioned this to you guys when people asked me, it's like, okay, well, now that blobs are near capacity or are going to be potentially overcapacity as demand heats up, won't transaction fees on L2s start creeping up again? It's like, yes, of course they will, because the data costs will start creeping up, and that will obviously onflow to users on these L2s and rollups. But these L2s and rollups can do their own improvements in order to essentially reduce the footprint that they have when using blobs on the network. And this is exactly one of those things, this compression ratio. So essentially, this didn't need to go through the L1 governance process, didn't need to be done on L1 at all. This is purely done at at the L2 level on base, where essentially they were able to use 20 to 30% less blob space, which is an absolutely massive improvement over what they've previously had. You can see how big of an improvement it is in this chart, right? It's basically fallen off a cliff. I mean, obviously there is a bit of an outlier here, but it's essentially fallen off a cliff here onto the next ledge, and we want to keep getting this down. But this is just one thing that can be done. But this is a big thing, definitely compressing improving transaction compression across the board, but this is how the L1s and the L2s work in tandem. The L1 will essentially keep scaling out blobs. We have PeerDAS potentially coming in Pectra next year. We have potential blob size and count increases coming as well, and we're going to keep increasing the scale there, and there's going to be more and more blobs for people to play with, and more blob scalability. And then obviously with PeerDAS, we're going to essentially make it even more scalable by splitting up the blobs. But then you've also got the L2s doing their own improvements, not just on the transaction compression side, but also on the execution layer side as well. So essentially scaling up if they're an EVM or whatever they are, just scaling up all of that. And then of course, there's also the ultimate option for these L2s, whereas essentially they don't have to post their data to L1, they can post their data elsewhere and not necessarily have to worry about this, but there is a trade-off there with that. So I'm hoping that the bigger chains, and especially the ones that have a healthy DeFi ecosystems like Base and Arbitrum One, always stay roll-ups and don't put their data elsewhere, but that's going to rely on Ethereum scaling up its data. And yes, I know that people will FUD this and say, oh, it's bearish for Ethereum's kind of fee revenue because blobs are free and blobs are so cheap. It's like, okay, well, one, they're not always going to be free. And this cheap. As demand kind of scales up, they're going to essentially be there's going to essentially be more usage of them. And I think two, eventually there's going to be a min fee put in place. I do think the blob fee market's going to be changed, where essentially it's not going to be free to post blobs. There's going to be like a floor price or something like that, maybe like 1 cent or something. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't even know if it's going to be implemented, but there's discussions around that, because at the end of the day, what you're paying for is resources on someone else's computer. Like when you're interacting with Ethereum and you're paying the fee, you're paying for the resources that someone else used to process your transaction, to propose the block, to attest to it, right? You're essentially paying me to do that, because I'm using resources. I'm using electricity. I'm using hardware resources to do this. I'm making sure that my node is available for you to do this on, and I'm making sure that I'm keeping the network healthy by attesting to blocks, proposing blocks, so on and so forth. That's essentially what you're paying for with the fee. Like, if the fee's not going to Vitalik, as some pop stars have said recently, it's going to obviously the network here. But yeah, the same is true for normal L1 transactions, but also blobs. Like I'm storing the blobs indefinitely as an altruistic thing. That's costing me money to do that. But hey, I'm doing it because I want to. But at the same time, even storing those blobs for 18 days is using resources. Processing it, using resources, right? So that's what you're essentially paying for. So it shouldn't be free to do this. There should, I think, be a min fee here. I don't think it's like technically free, but it's like pretty much free, like almost free. I think there should be a floor here, but we'll see how that shakes out. There's active research and development happening around that, and I'll keep you guys updated on all of that there. All right, last up here, something related to what I was just talking about. Speaking of blobs and data costs, Emiliano from Conduit here has put out a new rollup.wtf section, which is all about blobs. So you can go to rollup.wtf/blobs to see the current price of blobs per kilobyte across different DA layers. So there is Ethereum at the top here being the cheapest, which is pretty funny right now, because according to this, Ethereum is the cheapest DA layer. It's free. You can see here that it's basically free to post ETH data, to post blobs to the Ethereum L1. Then you have Celestia, EigenDA, Base call data, ARB call data, and ETH call data. Now, Base and ARB call data is at L2. It's not at like the L1 here, so it's a bit different. And ETH call data is at L1, but it is not blobs. It's the old data field that was being used that rollups were using before blobs came into it. But I do want to focus on the top three here. So I do find it funny that this basically shows exactly what I've been talking about for a long time, where data is a commodity. It became completely commoditized as a primitive because of blobs, because of these DA layers being so cheap. I mean, really, when you look at this, it doesn't matter if it's free versus, for Celestia and EigenDA, it's like 0.0002 cents or 0.0004, I should say dollars, not cents here, but it's essentially free, right? And remember, it's not end users paying these fees, it's the rollups themselves. And if the fee is this cheap and they're aggregating all of their user fees into this in order to pay for it, it just becomes very negligible here. So that's why I said before that DA is a commodity. It is not something that I think needs or will accrue a lot of value just generally across the ecosystem. In saying that, not all DA is created equal. For example, a L2, or I guess they're specifically called, or technically called rollups in this instance, if they're posting everything to L1 Ethereum, their proofs, their data, everything, they are as secure as they can be as a rollup. But if they are posting their data elsewhere to Celestia or EigenDA, they're now sacrificing that security in order to get potentially cheaper DA. But as you can see right here, at least for now, DA is cheaper on Ethereum. So it doesn't really make much sense to go to these alt DA layers right now. And then if we keep scaling up blobs to where we think we're going to get them, I don't know, maybe it's a world where it's so cheap. Probably it's not going to be like, almost free. It's just going to be so cheap that these other DA layers just don't make much sense. I don't know. We'll have to see how that shakes out. Maybe I'm underestimating just how much demand is going to come, and underestimating just how quickly blob prices can get out of control. I do think they can, definitely, but yeah, it's just funny looking at this and seeing essentially what the costs are here. Like it's basically free. It's basically negligible. And this, as I mentioned before, is $1 per kilobyte. So essentially, if you can put in how many kilobytes you want here and how many kilobytes that your favorite rollup is going to be using, you could probably cross-reference this with, I think, rollup.wtf. It's the normal website here. If I go to the normal website, actually, I'll bring it up on my other screen here for a sec. Rollup.wtf. I think you'll be able to see, what they're using here. So, kilobytes a second on, let's say, base right now is 25 kilobytes per second. So essentially this is dollars per kilobyte. So 25 kilobytes, you times this by 25 essentially. Or I think I think you can put in the size. In this field, you can actually put in the size of what you're doing here and then see the cost. But it's essentially like very, very cheap, guys. Very, very, very cheap to post this stuff. And as I said in the past, and as I've said for, I guess, years now, DA is a commodity, I think. And I think people treat it that way. Remains to be seen how this all looks like going forward and what the costs look like going forward. But now we can monitor them on this new blob section of the rollup.wtf website. So you can go check that out for yourself. But I think on that note, it's going to be it for today. So thank everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.